Mardo.
Hi, Liza.
Hi, the Minister of Police is online. You may assist him, please.
All right. Okay. Good afternoon, Minister. Oh, good afternoon, colleagues from the Minister's office. Can we have the Minister's video switched on, please? Good afternoon,
Okay.
Minister. All right. I'm happy with the Minister, Liza. Perfectly framed. The light is also perfect. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Mardo.
There's a message for me in the chat box that I'll be contacted shortly by ICT because the virtual background has not yet been properly done. Am I correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay.
Honorable Mokoena, good afternoon. Are you able to have your phone on landscape so that you can fill up the screen much better? I'm happy with your framing. It's just I need you to turn it and then have it on landscape. Yeah. And then just make sure that you don't cut off your head. Looking at your picture now, it looks like the light is behind you. And I need it on landscape if you can. If you can't, it's okay. But if you can have it on landscape, that will be highly appreciated. And then it looks like the light is either behind you or on your right. If you're able to face the light, that we appreciate it. But your picture, it's properly lit. It's still okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh,
If you have it on landscape like that, you fill in the screen, but make sure that you are centered.
hey.
Yeah. Just make sure that you're centered and you don't cut off your head.
Yo, that's more difficult, actually.
Is it?
It's not really allowing me. Let me see. Like that.
Yeah, but you need to move more to your, that will be my right, your left.
Let me see.
Yeah, much better. But then just make sure that you move back a little bit so that you don't cut off your head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just
I'll
back a
do
little
that.
bit.
All right.
Yeah.
Salvation. Okay.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Hey, siyakuzama mkhaya lento green ayivumi.
Kuzwe omunye umuntu-ke.
Angithi yabona thina sisesenta.
I'm in the middle of nowhere. Ngibhizi lama-by elections.
Kulungile kodwa vele senta ungayikhathi isiphongo.
Hayi ngizozama mkhaya.
There will now be a moment for silent prayer or meditation.
Recording in progress.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Honourable delegates, may I remind you that the rules, in particular, sub-rule 21, 22, and 23 of Rule 103 shall apply in this sitting. In accordance with the Council Rule 229, sub-rule 1, there will be no notices of motions or motions without notice. And I would also like to take this opportunity and welcome Minister Ntshavheni in the NCOP. And this is her first appearance, and we really appreciate it. She's been very anxious to say, when am I being called in the NCOP? And that's how committed our executive is in coming to account to the House. We really appreciate that, Minister. Finally, you've made it to the NCOP. And once again, we wish you all the best in your responsibilities. You are warmly welcome. This is your home. Feel free. We support your programs all the way. And I would further like to remind the delegates that in terms of Rule 229 of the Council rules, the time for reply by the Minister to the question is 5 minutes. Only 4 supplementary questions are allowed per question. A member who has asked the initial question would be the first to be afforded an opportunity to ask a supplementary question. The time for asking a supplementary question is only 2 minutes. The time for reply to a supplementary question is 4 minutes. The supplementary question must emanate from the initial question that was asked. I now call upon Minister in the Presidency to respond to question number 123 that is asked by Honorable Pala. Over to you, Minister. You may take the podium.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and also for the invitation. We really appreciate the invitation to the NCOP because we are guaranteed that we are going to be asked all the questions, unlike going to wait for questions and sometimes the questions don't get to you when the time has run out. We really appreciate the invitation. Honorable Pala has asked a question, and in terms of what we are doing to improve, to get the organization to be improved, including operational, strategic, and professional capabilities of the SSA and progress in implementing the recommendations to get the organization to improve. And to improve professional and operational capabilities, a skills audit was conducted across the organization, which has helped to clarify the skills and competency gaps within the agency. The skills audit outcome has supported the need for a skills refresh through both training or retraining, voluntary service packages, and alternative redeployment to ensure a steady pipeline of skilled intelligence officers. The supporting training program is being developed while most critical part of the program have started being implemented. In addition, the organizational structure redesign is underway and the reorganization process is also underway to ensure that the organizational structure is for optimal operations. We are also finalizing the career pathing and progression policy and succession plan to make sure that we have a steady supply. In our commitment to implement all the recommendations as indicated in the high-level review panel, as well as the Zondo Commission, the agency is redefining its mandate, improving personnel management, and modernizing intelligence capabilities. The General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act has been signed into law, and work to ready the SSA for a separation into two departments is underway. This work includes the redrafting of regulations to improve the governance and the coordination of the work of the two departments, including the supporting entities such as the Office of the Interception Centers. The regulations will be consulted fully with the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence after internal consultations have been completed. The agency is also completing the process of establishing a panel to undertake disciplinary inquiries related to the work of the Zondo Commission, the high-level review panel, and other investigations. The implementation of the outstanding recommendations will be prioritized and finalized in the current financial year. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'll now afford Honorable Pala an opportunity to ask a supplementary question.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Minister. Honorable Minister, thank you for your response to this question. The Honorable Minister will agree that the State Security Department is a nucleus of our democracy, and its collapse can lead to a collapse of state. In this regard, Minister, can you take this August House into confidence about the efficacy, effectiveness, and resilience of the change management strategies to mitigate the potential risk of internal resistance against organizational change and transformation? Thank you.
You may respond, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Pala, for the follow-up question. Indeed, change resistance is a big issue, more especially when you are dealing with an organization that has been beset with a lot of problems like the State Security Agency has been. And correctly so, the State Security Agency is the nucleus of our democracy and the biggest protector of the democracy. To mitigate that, we have appointed a dedicated change management officer who is working with staff and the management to ensure that indeed there's minimum resistance in the changes. Secondly, we've done some reconfiguration, including management swaps, to make sure that nobody feels that there is a purge or anything like that. But also the alternative deployment mechanism, it's also to ensure that people do not feel that they're being discarded, but they're being used for better use. As we start to do the implementation, there's been an improvement in cooperation. But what has also been interesting is that intelligence officers below management level have been very happy with the changes that are required as necessitated by the work of the Zondo Commission, the high-level review panel, and the other investigations. So we've got great support from the general intelligence officers of the organization, and therefore there will not be a collapse of the environment or the work of the State Security Agency through the process of change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is asked by Honorable Gotsa.
Good afternoon, Minister. Minister, in light of your responses and your department's stated medium to long-term plan to improve the operational and accountability capabilities of the State Security Agency, you will appreciate that South Africans may be skeptical about these assurances. When parliamentary oversight over this portfolio remains structurally limited, and when you have personally obstructed members of Parliament, myself and Honourable Chris Hutton included, from exercising lawful oversight functions at the Defence Headquarters. Now, what assurances and undertakings can you give this House and South Africans today that the limited oversight over this portfolio will be strengthened within the constitutional bounds?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I think Honourable Member will know that I'm not responsible for the defense portfolio. I'm responsible for the state security portfolio. The oversight of the state security portfolio, as prescribed by the National Strategic Intelligence Act, is provided through the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence and also the Office of the Inspector General of Intelligence. The Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence that have just been appointed by Parliament completed an induction process at the head office of the SSA last week. And in terms of the feedback I've received from the members, they were happy with the induction and the full disclosure. The IGI continues to do work in line with what is provided for in terms of law. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next follow-up question has been asked by Honorable Kennedy, who's joined in on a virtual platform.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings to the Honorable House. Honorable Minister, given that there has been a serious politicization and factionalization of the intelligence community over the past decade or so, what measures and timeframes have been put in place for factors such as training and development, ethical conduct, and professional capabilities of the State Security Agency? Thank you.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Indeed, the politicization was widely reported in the Zondo Commission and the High-Level Review Panel. They made recommendations on work that has to be done to relook the mandate of the SSA. We have done that relook to strengthen the oversight and through the development of regulations to make sure that the work can be accounted for. We have done most of that work. The GILA, this General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act, is now in place. We are working to make sure that it can be proclaimed for the full implementation. In terms of the organization, as I've indicated, because there were also people who were hired not trained to be intelligence officers. We have done a skills audit and identified the gaps, and the training program that I've indicated is being finalized, and the agent matters of tradecraft training, they are also underway. But also we are realigning to make sure people are deployed in terms of their own capabilities, and you are fully aware that we have finalized some of the regulations which we consulted with the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence in the 7th Parliament, so that those regulations can come into place, which is the coordination of the intelligence services. Currently, we are finalizing the regulations on the shared service model, regulations on the work of the OIC, but also regulations on the oversight of the intelligence services internally in terms of improving management and efficacy of the organization. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. The last follow-up question on this question is being asked by Honorable van den Berg.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I've been covered to a certain extent, Minister, but surely for this skilled function to be performed, should you not be using a professional type of person rather than using skills training and a change management process, etc.? Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Indeed, the skills for the skills functions to be performed, we need a particular skill sets for them to be held by members, and it's for that reason that the skills audit was conducted to make sure that we can then identify whether members possess the right skills and also whether they can be trained. You'll be aware that or members of the Joint Standing Committee in the induction, they would have been informed that the work that we are doing, a training program, is also targeting particular particular age group so that there could be a reinvestment. We need skills in data science and related fields and data analytics. We're making sure that the organization has those skills, and the recruitment process will close those gaps. But also the redeployment of others to move to areas where they may be better skilled and vacate spaces where they do not hold skills. It's what we are undertaking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the response to the question. Honourable Minister, we are now proceeding to question 116, which has been asked by Honourable Brett. Over to you.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. The mandates of the domestic and foreign intelligence services were always clearly defined through the enabling legislation, thereby eliminating duplication and operational fragmentation. To ensure efficient support of both entities, a shared service model has been developed to provide support functions across human resources, finance, legal services, internal audit, logistics, and infrastructure management. Regulations to govern the shared service model are undergoing consultation. Secondly, a comprehensive skills audit has been conducted, as earlier alluded to identify critical skills and capability gaps across the evolving intelligence architecture. In response, a strategic emphasis has been placed in the professionalization of the intelligence officers, supported by the establishment of the South African National Academy of Intelligence, SANAI, as a dedicated and accredited institution for training and continuous professional development. Staffing interventions are also underway, with key priorities including employment equity through the targeted appointment of women and young professionals in management. The appointment of young professionals in management positions will ensure adequate succession planning. The effective functioning of the South African Intelligence Academy, SAI, and the South African Intelligence Service, SAIS, is subject to ongoing oversight by both the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence and the Inspector General of Intelligence. Furthermore, the implementation of the General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act necessitates the development of the comprehensive oversight regulations, which are now at a draft stage, to strengthen governance, institutional accountability, and assurance mechanisms. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We're now moving to the follow-up question, which is asked by Honourable Brett.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable Minister, before I ask my follow-up question, you haven't answered the part about the interim risks that I've asked, but my follow-up question, how will the effectiveness of the two new intelligence entities be measured over time, and what mechanisms are in place to ensure that Parliament and the public are kept informed of their funding, development, challenges, and impact on national security?
Over to you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I must indicate to the members of the House that the two organizations have not started to operate. They will only start to operate on the day that will be proclaimed by the President. Currently, we are readying ourselves to make sure that when the two organizations start to operate, the necessary regulations are in place. Why we cannot commence with the implementation of the two organizations before the necessary regulations are in place is to make sure we mitigate the risk that Honourable Brett said earlier asked, that to make sure that they can be co-functioning, there could be effectiveness, and there could be accountability across, because the budget will remain the same account, which is the one that is managed by the National Treasury. The oversight and accountability to Parliament will continue through the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence, supported by the Office of the Inspector General of Intelligence, but also by this House, the NCOP, calling us to account in terms of our work. We submit our APP in terms of our targets to measure the not only to measure the effectiveness, but for the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence to advise both the NCOP and the National Assembly if the proposals or the targets that are being set will be effective, and we continue to support to provide quarterly reports that we engage with the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We are now moving to Honourable Pala to ask a follow-up question to the Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, in our understanding, as you have indicated, there is neither a dissolution of existing structures nor establishment of new entities, but organizational reconfiguration of state security agency to enhance operational, strategic, and organizational efficiency. The concern is, to what extent has this reconfiguration been benchmarked against the best emerging practices in the domestic and foreign context? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you to Honorable Pala for the question. Before we undertook the process of doing the organizational redesign reconfiguration, there was a team that was appointed by the former Director General of State Security Agency to go across the globe to benchmark the services of the other intelligence services. And we were also fortunate that that work was completed before the General Intelligence Amendment Bill was finalized by the by Parliament. And as a result, we've incorporated most of the things that are required in terms of the General Amendments, General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act into the Act that in terms of those that needed legislation. But in others that needed regulations, that's why there is a requirement for the comprehensive regulations on to ensure accountability, oversight, and institutional management. Thank you, Honorable Pala.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We are now proceeding to Honorable Machobeni to ask the Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Greetings to honorable members and Honorable Minister. What measures have you put in place to ensure that the intelligence entities are free from corruption, political interference, and mismanagement, which has characterized the agency in the past? Thank you very much.
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. In terms of the mechanisms that are in place, we have strengthened our internal audit and our risk management functions in terms of what they needed what they need to do to make sure of oversight. But we've also strengthened the governance arrangement and the governance environment. And as we move forward to move into the new organization, we are developing the regulations that I've indicated earlier to make sure that we can have effective oversight, strengthen the governance and institutional accountability and assurance mechanisms. Those regulations will become very important for the sustainability of the organization, so that the improvement in performance and management is not limited to the availability of a particular minister, but it can be institutionalized and become an institutional process. And the politicization is a thing of the past. We have made sure that there is no politicization of the organization, and the continuous work that we are doing is to rid ourselves of the elements of those who want to play into politics. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Minister, we are taking the last follow-up question on the very same question that was asked, which will be asked by Honorable Nzimande.
No, thank you. Honorable Minister, my question will be very much light on the basis that you have already answered some of the point. But what is important is for me to understand how effective and will be this redesign or configuration gonna deal with the causal factors, which has been the failure, and what will be also the critical factor, success factors around what you are planning. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. At least Honorable Nzimande, and I understand and accept that I've already partially answered, in fact, answered the question, so it's an opportunity for him to answer. As we have indicated, the professionalization, and if I may just use the opportunity to explain, part of what we have done when we have developed our new mandate and our capabilities, we have done an organizational business development model, and then said, what is the operational capabilities that we are required to do? If that is the operational capabilities that we are required to do, what are the competencies that members must hold? If these are the competencies that members must hold, what are then the skills that members must hold? And at what level should those skills apply? And that is the first part. And if you start to deal with people at the professional level and technical level, it will mean that at the right level, you'll have the people holding the correct, relevant, appropriate skills. And people who hold relevant and appropriate skills, they do not have to kowtow to any other person because they're not done favors to sit in those positions, is their capabilities. Second, related to that is what we call the performance agreement model and performance management model of the organization, which we are going to finalize in consultation with staff, the ICCS and others, to make sure that people can then be held to clear targets of what is said, what is not said. And that is strengthened through the regulations, because accountability, which will be regulated through the regulations, will then not depend on a favor that you are doing to another person or that they do to you. It's going to be prescribed through regulations. From the regulations, we'll then have what we call operational directives, which then members can execute, because then you bring certainty of process and certainty of performance. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We are now moving to the next question, question number 105, which is asked by Honorable Gerike. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Pursuant to its legal mandate, the State Security Agency set objectives to provide intelligence in line with the national intelligence priorities, to inform, forewarn, advise, and contribute to combat organized crime on intelligence threats related to territorial integrity emanating from the risks posed by the illegal movement of people. And this we have done the national intelligence priorities for the 2025-2026. We are going to submit them to the National Security Council. The increase in the national and transnational organized crime syndicates pose various security threats, including the increase in kidnappings. Local and international crime syndicates have also contributed to then extortion. And these are not only confined to the organized groups, they also go beyond organized groups. The rising of kidnappings across the country, the country's borders, have also spilled over to our own environment, making kidnapping a transnational crime. The SSA does not have the executive powers of arrest to deal with local and international organized crime syndicates. Therefore, we support the police in terms of the work they do to do the arrest. This mandate lies with the law enforcement agencies, including the police. The SSA does work within the context of the security cluster to provide then forewarning intelligence to law enforcement apparatus of the state so that they can respond. And where there are no follow-ups, we make sure that we escalate to make sure the matters are attended to. In this regard, the SSA is also involved in the process of crafting a national integrated strategy on transnational organized crime. A team working under the auspices of the National Priority Crimes Operational Committee, NPCOC, is expected to finalize this strategy by September 2025. In addition to this, there is continuous support to law enforcement agencies to improve their efficiency and effectiveness in combating local and international organized and recent phenomenon of high-profile kidnapping and abduction cases for ransom. The SSA has close and effective working relationships also with the Financial Intelligence Center, or FIC, with the South African Banking Risk Information Center, SABRIC, with the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, FSCA, and with the South African Reserve Bank. By law, South African banks are compelled to work with the FIC and to, for example, report suspicious transactions amongst other obligations. The SSA has also representation at the Fusion Center located at the FIC, which brings together elements from the intelligence community, law enforcement, from the judiciary, which also allows for greater agility and fast-tracking of identified cases. Since crypto asset markets are also vulnerable to a wide range of criminal activity and financial crimes, the SSA has established a solid working relationship in this environment as well. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I'm now inviting Honorable Gerike to ask a supplementary question.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for your answer, Minister. International syndicates are indeed prevalent in South Africa, whether it be criminal, commercial, cyber, or any other syndicates, Minister. What assurances can you give to the country that the police has its grip on these threats, and which relevant expertise have you put in place in every single police station across all provinces to handle these cases effectively? And if there is a lack of shortage in this regard, what is your plea for assistance, Minister? Thank you.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Gerike will remember that I'm not the minister responsible for the police. However, we continue both at national, provincial, and local level, work closely with the police to give the forewarning intelligence that is necessary in terms of the work that is done by the intelligence officers of this republic. So that is the assurance that we give. And I can also further assure the members that there will no longer be an incident where the police will say they've not received forewarning intelligence from the SSA. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister. We are now proceeding to a follow-up question, which is asked by Honorable Midupi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think the Minister has sufficiently responded to the question. Thanks.
No, thank you very much. We are now proceeding to a follow-up question, which is asked by Honorable Andriansi.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Minister, in light of the ongoing investigations in these kidnapping cases, could you provide an update on the current capacity of the law enforcement agencies? We've heard you referring to September or December. Specifically regarding manpower and the availability of qualified personnel and tech, the forewarning capacity that you referred to effectively address and combat organized crime syndicates involved in such crimes. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I feel like the Minister of Police should be in the house. I'm not responsible for the law enforcement agencies. I'm responsible for the intelligence services of the Republic. In terms of our capacity at the intelligence services, we have sufficient capacity, but we continue to improve on that capacity. In terms of the work at hand, we have the capacity to support law enforcement agency, and that's why we continue to prepare and participate in the necessary strategies. The National Integrated Strategy on Transnational Organized Crime is also a result of the work that we have been doing to make sure that there could be an integrated response from what we pick up from the intelligence services, including some of them will include the defense as they are responsible for our borders, the police, Home Affairs, the BMA, and other agencies. And you are fully aware of the work that was done in the 7th administration with the establishment of the BMA to make sure that we limit the porousness of our borders and make sure that there can be controls coming through and the ability to trace. And we continue to work in that environment to build the capacity. The police have a dedicated units to deal with organized crimes, and they've been responding. The Minister of Police will come after me, so that question, in terms of the capacity in the law enforcement agencies, he should be best applied to respond to. And in terms of the capacity in the intelligence services, we have sufficient capacity. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I'm now affording Honorable Farmer, who has joined in through the virtual platform, an opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Minister, with organized crime syndicates increasingly orchestrating abductions for ransom, many with ties to international networks, what immediate and targeted interventions is your department implementing to dismantle these operations? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chair, I didn't hear the last part of his question. If I may have his indulgence or your indulgence for him to repeat the last part.
Honorable Farmer, can you please repeat the last question that you've posed to the Minister?
Will gladly do so, Chair. What immediate and targeted interventions is your department implementing to dismantle these operations? Thank you, Minister.
Have you heard, Minister? Okay, that's fine. Thanks, Honorable Farmer.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Our duty is to identify the syndicates, to profile them, to make sure that they can be, we have a, what is the better language? We have evidence of where they are so that the law enforcement can do their part. We hand over whatever we have to the law enforcement, and we work together with the crime intelligence of the police, so that the law enforcement do not just shoot in the dark. They can be able to follow up directly and precisely. We have been doing that work of profiling, identifying and profiling. So when incidents happen, we also map them across to make sure that we can profile and then trace and make sure that law enforcement have the necessary information to make sure that it can be arrest, they can be successful prosecution. And I think honorable members will be aware of an improvement in the rate and number of recoveries that the law enforcement have been achieving. And that detail, I'm sure Minister Mkhunu, as he comes through after me, he should be able to provide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. That was the last follow-up question on the question that was posed by Honorable Gerike. We are now proceeding to question number 124, which is asked by Honorable Mananiso. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The SSA domestic and foreign branches collaborate closely with each other and they've established to establish and monitor linkages between identified high-risk sending countries and the aviation ports that are being used by organized criminal syndicates to transport narcotics and other unlawful and unregulated substances to the South African aviation ports, such as OR Tambo International Airport, the Cape Town International Airport, as well as the Maritime Port of Durban. In this regard, intelligence profiling is conducted to identify patterns and trends and high-risk flights and nationalities. These flights and passengers are frequently monitored as part of joint operations between the SSA and other law enforcement stakeholders based in the South African International Aviation Ports of Entry. In those cases where the agencies are aware of suspicious travelers on targeted flights, the traveler details are communicated prior to arrival with law enforcement agencies with the request to conduct searches and profiling of suspicious travelers. Written agreements between the SSA and various foreign intelligence services are in place and are used as the basis to collaborate at an operational level. Insofar as flights from the Southern African Development Community or SADC countries are concerned, the joint action plans and the joint operational plans serve as the basis for continuous joint operations. Interpol red notices and binational commission agreements that South Africa has with a multitude of states serve as the basis for joint operations that are intelligence driven. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
I will now afford Honorable Mananiso to ask a supplementary question.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for your response, which demonstrates the significance of international cooperation in this era of globalization. Minister, my first question is that what work has been planned or done to track, identify, and apprehend staff members who are collaborating with the criminal syndicates at the ports? And secondly, what significant strides have been made in this regard? I thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Mananiso, for the follow-up question. Indeed, we continue to work with other law enforcement agencies, but we also work with the Department of Transport, the AXA, and also the airlines that are in the country, but also the access for all the ports, to make sure that when we do our risk profiling and targeting, if we pick up any of their staff members or any of our staff member or staff member of the law enforcement agencies, we can do the forewarning and make sure that we work with law enforcement to not only get that staff member fired, but to also get that staff member arrested because they are commissioning a crime in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question has been asked by Honourable Swart.
Good afternoon, Honourable Chair, Honourable Minister. Minister, what concrete outcomes, such as arrests and seizures, have resulted from the SSA's collaborations with foreign security agencies, and in what way are they tangibly disrupting drug trafficking into our country?
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. As I've indicated earlier, SSA does not have arresting powers. SSA has forewarning responsibility and also the profiling responsibility. And therefore, I cannot be able to give you statistics in terms of the number of arrests because it is the work of the police services. Otherwise, we'll be exceeding our mandate and it will jeopardize the cases that we are involved with. Because if I say this is the X number of cases, it will be said, the next question will be, can we have access to the list of those arrests that are linked to your work? And that will jeopardize the work of the law enforcement agency in terms of prosecution. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I'm now inviting Honourable Chira Mbongose, who has joined in on a virtual platform, to ask the Minister the follow-up question.
Yeah, Leboha Chairperson Madume, Minister. Crystal Mafia 6 million. Utulutse last year ka December ko OR Tambo International Airport. Ne tshwantse e ye ko Australia. And it was cited gore go na le sebedisano between state security and SAPS. So potso ya rona is in relation to finding out gore diphenyo tsa lona or the investigations rather, what was the outcome to date since this particular incident happened and since the said stakeholders have been cited to have been in collaboration to get to the bottom of this. Thank you so much.
Honourable Minister.
Ke a leboha modulasetulo. Ke a leboha le leloko la ntlo ena for potso eo. Re batla ho tsebisa hore rena re le batho ba intelligence services a re kgone ho bolela hore diphenyo tsa rena di fihla kae. Diphenyo ke diphenyo tsa maponisa. Rena re no ba fa botlhatsi hore ntho tse di a diragalang sepelang le mo ka nako e itseng he le tlo fihla mo batho bao ba le tlo kgona ba tshwara lena le maponisa. Because rena re ka thoma ra re rena re batho re ba tshwere ko eng hona le engwe ko kae le ntho tseo e tlo re tshwenya because rena re sontse re tle re ye court re fana ka bopaki bo. Rena batho ba rena di intelligence officers tsa rena a se bona ba o ya court ho fana ka bopaki because if ba ka tsibiwa o re ke bona ba berekang ba tshwaraneng le moshumo o ho tshore ba ka sa khona o dira mmereko wa bona or moshumo wa bona ka tsela e lokileng ka tsela ya potlego. Re a leboga.
Re lebogile, Minister. Potso ya bofelelo
ho mabapi le potso e botsitsweng ke Mme Mananiso e tswa go Honorable van den Berg.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, have your department actively engaged with the following airport authorities, especially Addis Ababa Airport in Ethiopia, King Abdulaziz Airport in Saudi Arabia, Sao Paulo in South America, and compared to movement of narcotics through harbors and borders, do you have an indication as to where the most contraband and narcotics are smuggled into the country or even out of the country? Or and are you as a department also engaging on that level? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. And I must indicate I responded to the question of Honorable Chirwampanguse in Sepedi because the question came in Sepedi, because it's a language that I speak fluently. It was not because of any other thing, but it's part of the official languages. You can ask a question in Afrikaans, I'll respond. I'll respond in English because the translation better be good. Thank you for that question. The question that you have asked, unfortunately, deals with operational requirements. What I can indicate is that we've got agreements with the countries of Ethiopia, the countries of Saudi Arabia, the countries of Brazil, I can't remember the other country, amongst other countries that we have agreements with. And we continue to cooperate with all those countries that we've got a memorandum of agreements with, so that we can improve our cooperation in dealing with transnational crimes, including drugs and kidnapping and other related crimes. Thank you very much, Honourable Member.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for your responses to those questions. And I want to also welcome you to the House, and feel free to join us whenever you feel like it. We'll now move on to question number 103 that was asked by the Honourable S.A. Zulu. Honourable Minister, your response, please.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. The SSA is actively monitoring national security risks arising from international political movements and support groups due to concerns about their potential influence on the South African domestic affairs. The agency uses intelligence products such as the assessments to identify and counter threats, including terrorism, domestic extremism, espionage, organized crime, and others, with a focus on movements that may undermine national unity and economic stability. The SSA is vigilant against disinformation campaigns, cyber operations, and ideological influences that could destabilize public trust in democratic institutions. Intelligence gathering and counterintelligence efforts are enhanced under the recently signed General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act, which will split the SSA into two separate entities, one focusing on domestic intelligence and one focusing on foreign threats. The SSA is further also addressing the issue through improved counterintelligence coordination mechanisms focused on defensive measures, notably through the Counterintelligence Coordination Forum and the respective interdepartmental functional committees, which are protective security, counterterrorism, counter-espionage, counter-proliferation, and cybersecurity. The SSA champions a dedicated security awareness program, and we have briefed newly appointed members of the National Executive, members of the provincial executives, heads of mission to be stationed abroad. The SSA is currently providing similar presentation to all government clusters. In addition, efforts are ongoing to address legislative weaknesses, specifically the inadequate legislation criminalizing espionage. The focus is currently on ensuring the processing of the Protection of State Information Bill is done. Strategies to protect South Africa's sovereignty and prevent external influence include the National Intelligence Estimate, coordinated by the National Intelligence Coordinating Committee, commonly known as NICOC, that assists government institutions to respond effectively to evolving threats, including those that could affect sovereignty and national security, as well as those emanating from foreign role players. The SSA works closely with other state institutions and civil society to maintain vigilance against foreign interference and protect democratic institutions. The SSA also briefed the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence on its assessment and plans to prevent foreign interference and influence in South Africa. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now go on to the follow-up questions. Honorable Zulu.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. Minister, good afternoon, ma'am. You look happy. You must be Kaizer Chiefs fan. Yeah, the SSA provides advice to the government on how to mitigate the potential threats and leverage opportunities in the international arena. How effective is the SAA foreign branch in gathering and analyzing information on foreign threats and potential impacts on South Africa's security and interest? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Zulu. Honorable Minister, your response.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you. But I must start to indicate this house is a neutral house. So I'm not going to divulge whether I'm Kaizer Chiefs or Orlando Pirates. And I hope I have your protection. And we congratulate you, Honorable Zulu, for the victory of Amakosi and the Kosi Nation. In terms of the question that you have requested, we believe that the foreign branch or the SSA is effective in the collection of that of information that may threaten our sovereignty and also destabilize our own country from foreign threats. It is for that reason that there have not been any incidents that has come into play in the country that threatens our sovereignty. And I'm sure members will be tempted to say the 49 people who moved from being citizens to become refugees, is that a threat to national sovereignty? It's not a threat to national sovereignty. It's not a threat to national unity. And we must continue to applaud the Afrikaner and white community that have said, not in our name, there is no genocide of white people in South Africa. And the statistics around farm murders that are issued by the Minister of Police, as also demonstrated to AfriForum, are correct and accurate, and that we are winning the fight against farm murders. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And I can assure you that when it comes to the business of the House, we are neutral. But when it comes to the matter of Kaizer Chiefs and pirates, well, that's another matter altogether. We won't go there. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Nue.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. In actual fact, you have already covered it, but maybe you might have left other areas in your response. Hence, I will further on to expand on this question to deal with these lunatics. Honorable Minister, the recent developments with civil society organizations publicly feeding false narrative to the United States of America that serves to undermine the sovereignty of South Africa to a foreign state demonstrates the intricacies of how foreign interests can be feathered through proxy domestic organizations. In this regard, has any review of the efficacy and effectiveness of the current legislative framework in dealing with domestic civil society organizations that serve foreign interests been undertaken? If no, why not? And if so, what are the relevant details? Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nue. Honorable Minister, your response.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair and Honorable Nube, for that question. Indeed, it is a question that needs to be expanded on. You are aware, as honorable members of the House or permanent representatives, that the police have indicated, or law enforcement indicated, that they are investigating a crime of treason in terms of the false information that has been spread, and that work continues. And in terms of the additional question you have asked in terms of that civil society organizations can be proxy to destabilize a country, and that what work is being done. With South Africa, we uphold constitutional democracy. We protect the rights of all citizens to participate freely and engage, including the promotion of active civil society or active citizenry. However, the process of that led us to grey listing has also proven a weakness in how our civil society organization, including non-profit organizations, NPO, are registered and their activities tracked. The National Treasury, including the other departments that are working on the grade listing process, are working on a bill that will amend some of the weaknesses within the governance of the civil society movements in the country, but that governance will not threaten the active citizenry goal that is protected and enshrined in our Constitution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now go to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honourable Godsell.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, I'm going to refer to the Defence Department in my next question, so please don't let that deter you from answering the question, because it is aimed at your department and how it assesses threats. Minister, while the SSA may be monitoring foreign political movements that pose risks to South African sovereignty, how does the SSA assess the credibility of any response strategy when the South African National Defence Force is critically under-resourced and it lacks the operational capability to respond effectively to escalated external threats identified through intelligence?
Thank you, Honourable Godsell. Honourable Minister, your response, please.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chairperson. And let me preface it, I'm not going to comment on the capacity of the defense forces. I'm going to comment on the capacity of the intelligence agencies of the state as they are regulated by the National Strategic Intelligence Act, what we call the National Intelligence Structures, which are coordinated through the NICOC. The work that is done through the NICOC, which coordinates the work of SSA, Defense Intelligence, and the Police Crime Intelligence, is to identify the threats and ensure that there is effective responses. In that work, there have not been any incidents where NICOC has reported to the National Security Council that there have not been effective responses from any party that has been identified to action that responds to an identified threat as identified by the National Intelligence Structures as coordinated by NICOC. So where I'm sitting, we have not had an incident, maybe still to come, we have not had an incident where any law enforcement agency or any component of the state have failed to respond to an identified threats that have been identified by the intelligence services, in particular since I've assumed office. That's because that's the period I can account for. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now move on to the next follow-up question from the Honourable Tessa, who is on the virtual platform.
No, thank you very much, Deputy Chair of the House, and greetings to the Minister. Minister, your department is in terms of its mandate, responsible for providing government with intelligence on threats to national security, national stability, the constitutional order, and the safety and well-being of the citizens, collecting analysis, disseminating intelligence to government bodies, focusing on threats of sabotage, espionage, and organized crime. So in light of the domestic extremists such as AfriForum, Solidarity movements, and all their inner circles here in Parliament, who went to the United States to spin a narrative of victimhood of white people being murdered by blacks, mobilizing the United States government to interfere in the domestic affairs of our country. What measures, if any, have you used to scrutinize these treasonous acts of white right-wing racist extremist movements, especially in relations to how they are funded, so as to protect the imminent threat of civil war in South Africa? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Tessa. Honourable Minister, your response, please.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair. As indicated earlier, the law enforcement agencies are investigating the Treasonous Act of Misinformation and also that which is provided for in the, I forgot the right naming of the act that talks about treason in the country. It's not limited. The description of everybody that the Honourable Member indicated, there will not be beyond and above investigation of law enforcement agencies if they've conducted such act. Our duty as the state security agency is to provide the necessary information of what, as part of the forewarning, profiling, and the support. And also, and unfortunately, I can't go into the detail of that because it will compromise then the work of the law enforcement agencies. But we continue to make sure that the Treasonous Acts cannot be left unpunished, because it is not the constitutional democracy that we achieved in 1994 was at the most largest of sacrifices. And the transformation agenda of the government to make sure that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, that South Africans are equal before the law, the South Africans can be prosperous, and the right to have not only political power, but to also hold economic power as we deal with the transformation of the economy does not pose a threat to any one racial grouping in South Africa. As South Africa, despite our diversity, we are one people, we are one nation. And that diversity is reflected by the composition of this house, the languages we speak, and the cultures that we pursue, the religions that we pursue. And that right will continue to be respected and promoted in this democracy. So anyone, whether they are a political structure, whether they're a civil society organization, or whether they're individuals who threaten that democracy, who threatens the security of the state, and will not leave any stone unturned to make sure that they are prosecuted by the law enforcement agencies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for that comprehensive response. And that brings us to the end of question 103. We now move on to question 125 that was asked by Advocate Nkosi Nkonyana. Honourable Minister, your response, please.
I must be careful how I respond to him because I'm sitting with him, the Deputy Chairperson, so I'll need your serious protection. The state security agency's role in combating kidnapping and other transnational organized crimes is to support law enforcement agencies, as earlier stated, by gathering intelligence and sharing it with the relevant stakeholders for investigative purposes. This is done through the provision of forewarning and developing intelligence on proactive measures against crime by identifying, profiling, investigating criminal groupings, networks that are involved in crime. The South African Police Service, Crime Intelligence, the CI, established a specialized national anti-kidnapping task team in 2021 following a spike in kidnapping cases where ransom was demanded. Provincial anti-kidnapping task teams were also formed to investigate high-profile kidnapping for ransom and extortion cases. The SSA's role, both provincially and nationally, is to support the efforts of the task teams by providing reliable and timely intelligence and fostering strong collaborations with other key stakeholders by sharing information and coordinating efforts in a seamless manner. The SSA also forms part of the interdepartmental and multi-stakeholder task team, which oversees the development of the South African National Integrated Strategy to prevent and combat the transnational organized crime, as I reported earlier. The team working under the auspices of the National Priority Crimes Operational Committee is expected to finalize the strategy by September of 2025. The first workshop was held in March 2025, which comprised of participants from SADC, Interpol, business, civil society, amongst others. The outcome of this workshop was the development of a draft National Integrated TOC strategy framework and key strategic pillars that are being consulted on so that they can then finalize the strategy. The SSA has close and effective working relationships, again, with the Financial Service Center, SABRIC, FSCA, the Reserve Bank, and by law, the South African banks are compelled to respond to the to comply with law enforcement and share information so that when we can identify effectively those who are combating fraud, money laundering, and other work. We are also working to make sure that the crypto assets, which have become a threat in the country, that market has become a challenge, that we can prevent and eliminate the criminal activities in financial crimes through that. We have established a solid working relationships with businesses that are involved in the crypto assets markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now call upon the Honourable Nkosi Nkonyana for a follow-up question.
Deputy Chair and honourable members, thank you, Honourable Minister. Congratulations for having been appointed to this critical department, and thank you for responding to my question. Arising from your response, Honourable Minister, whilst we appreciate the strides that have been made by the criminal justice cluster in dealing with these crimes, but the persistent trends continue and are worrisome. Hence, we feel that there is a need for your department, particularly the service that you continue to render. In collaboration, therefore, with other sector departments, the banking sector and civil society organization, what are the plans to raise public awareness about these crimes? And what is the departmental plan to reposition its digital technological capabilities as part of strengthening its capacity to effectively combat these crimes? Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Nkonyana. Honourable Minister, your response, please.
I must be moving the desks there. My desk mate asks difficult questions. Thank you, Honourable Chair, and Nkosi Nkonyana for the questions. As indicated, we are working. The fact that we started to work on a strategy to deal with anti-kidnapping, anti-organized crime, integrated organized crime strategy is because we realized that the random responses were not effective or not yielding fruits. And that's why we need a strategy that can then guide that work. And that strategy, that's why we are even putting ourselves in a timeline of saying, though it's not us alone, we are with the other team members, by September 2025, that strategy should have been concluded, and will accordingly take it to the Joint Standing Committee on intelligence on our part. The police will take it to the relevant portfolio committees that they respond to, and I'm sure we'll come back to this House to talk about that strategy in detail. And indeed, the inability or the sometimes ineffective response or a delayed response, because if you check the records, in instances we are making police are making the arrest, or the people who are either kidnapped or held for ransom or for extortion, they are being found. It just takes a bit longer. And you're correctly so, because in the age of digital technologies, we should be moving further. It should give us the speed and agility. So part of the work that we are doing to reposition SSA is to build on that digital capability. That's why earlier, when I was responding to the competencies and capabilities we are building, I refer to the skills like digital data sciences and other many skills in that field, including the crypto assets management, and also your geolocation developments that should be enable us to monitor, not using traditional mechanisms, but using technology to monitor, track and trace, and all the things that we can use in today's age of technology. It's part of that competence we're building. It continues to be work in progress. We have capacity now, but that area evolves quickly, so we are trying to also keep up with the pace. And we have a dedicated center, the National Communication Center within the SSA, that is a responsible environment. And we are getting them to speed, including integrating all government and public key public infrastructure technologies that are there, so that they can be seamless and end-to-end monitoring of the country without the threat of Big Brother monitoring everybody's life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now move on to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honourable Peter.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Evening, Honourable Minister.
In light of the alarming fact that South Africa now ranks 6th globally in terms of reported kidnappings, it is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore the creeping normalization of organized criminal violence in our society. So much so that one might argue that our country is at risk of sliding into a soft mafia state, where criminals syndicates operate in parallel with, or worse, in conclusion with, elements of the state. When we examine Italy's historic battle against the mafia, particularly the systematic takedown of entrenched criminal empires like Cosa Nostra, Ndrangheta, Camorra, and Sacra Corona Unita, it's becoming clear that victory comes not through reactive policing alone, but through the courageous deployment of a whole of society offensive. Has the government considered implementing judicial reforms to explicitly criminalize mafia-style association and organized criminal membership, to adequately fund and capacitate autonomous anti-mafia directorate, to adopt aggressive assets for future and seize a regime, and to encourage active public resistance to corruption, intimidation, and the influence of criminal networks in politics? If so, what specific measures have been undertaken, and what measurable access or outcomes can be attributed to this intervention? I thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Peter. Honorable Minister, your response, please.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. I think there's a problem with that aisle. Their questions are very difficult. As I've earlier indicated, and correctly so, we cannot allow our country to slide into a soft mafia state. And standing here, I cannot rule out the possible collusion of some elements within the state, with, in particular within the law enforcement agencies, including our own intelligence services with the kidnapping mafias. But what is critical is the work that is being done to eliminate such, and also the questions that you have then raised to follow up. It's for that reason that we are working on a national integrated strategy on trans-organized crime. As you have, and that most of those crimes and our ranking is because of them is what we call transported crimes or transported criminalities that come from foreign countries imported into our country. And that's why it's also important that we finalize the amendment to the immigration bill through the white paper that was done in the 7th administration, that it must come through so that we can tighten the immigration laws. And part of the work that we are doing, I've also indicated the issue of us getting the what do I call it? Getting organized crime, improving the illegalization, the criminalization there in terms of what you can be prosecuted for and what you cannot be prosecuted for. And correctly so, reactive policing is not sufficient, or reactive law enforcement is not sufficient, and a whole of society approach is required. That whole of society approach also requires members of this House as we go back to the constituencies. I think the proposal we've made is, for me, very enriching in terms of the work that we need to go back and say, in the public awareness that we do, we can make awareness in government departments. What awareness do we then do and make into the communities? Of course, we operate behind the shadows, not the bad shadows, the good shadows. We operate behind the shadows, so there's work that we cannot do in the communities because in my majority of the intelligence officers are undeclared, and there will be a problem when they are declared. So we'll have to work, we'll take it back to the justice cluster to work with active community awareness, also roping yourselves as public representatives to that public awareness. The fight against crime in any country is a whole of society response. It's not a law enforcement response. It takes your child or my brother or my sister bringing back something that they've acquired illegally, and my parents and myself say it cannot be accepted in this household. Take it back where you found it. We need to go back to a period where our parents, ourselves as parents or as members of the communities, as members of the families, will report a crime that does not directly affect us, but affect a member of the community that we are aware of. And that needs that public awareness program that you're speaking about. In terms of avoiding a reactive law enforcement, we are working on the various strategies to make sure that we can be proactive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We have another question from the same aisle that you're concerned about, and that's from the Honourable Mashubeni.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, kidnapping for ransom has become a huge problem in South Africa, which is driven mainly by a rise of extortion, high level of crime and corruption. And sadly, ordinary citizens are becoming targets of this organized crime. Given that kidnapping is not a new problem and that there appears to be an alarming sharp growth in this industry, what initiatives have you taken to ensure that there are officers at every police station which are specifically trained to respond to suspected kidnappers? Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mashubeni. Honourable Minister, your response, please.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. As I've indicated earlier, the Minister of Police will then respond to the issue of the officers deployed at every police station. Our work as the intelligence service is to then make sure that at that police station, they will have the information that is required to deal with the organized crime as we cooperate with the various task teams, the anti-kidnapping task teams that have been set up by the police across the board, provincial, national, and at a local level. And we participate to support them, to give them the forewarning, to give them the necessary profiling so that they can then effectively respond. So in terms of the last question of every officer deployed, we do not deploy officers in a police station, lest we get in trouble. But the Minister of Police will respond to that part of the question. We support that the information, the intelligence that is required is available through the police to every police station and every police officer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from the Honourable Badenost.
Good day, Minister. Welcome to the House. I'm glad that you looked forward to being here. It's nice of you to say that. Minister, you referred earlier that you have knowledge of the translation services working quite well in the House. So you being the Minister of Intelligence, I'm going to put that to the test in Afrikaans, if you don't mind. Minister, gegeven die... Yeah, sure. I'm happy to wait for you. If you can just stop the clock there, please, front table. I'm being delayed by the Minister now. Can I continue? Minister, gegeven die oorgrens-intelligensie implikasies van hierdie internasionale syndikaate, watter rol speel die staatsveiligheidagentskap in die ontwrigting van hierdie syndikaate en gee asseblief algemene voorbeelde van u rol in die interdepartementele samewerking hiermee, asseblief. Baie dankie.
Thank you, Honourable Badenost. Honourable Minister, your response.
Thank you. At least the Chivenda translation services could not catch up with the Africans. This nice channel is channel 11. No, I got the gist of the I got the gist of the question. Let me paraphrase your question, so that we have the same understanding. Your question is, what can I provide evidence of the cooperation with other organizations, other agencies, or other countries, because they were moving between those, in terms of the work that we are doing to deal with kidnappings, ransom, and so forth internationally. That's the gist.
That's the second part of the question.
The first part then was difficult.
Some examples.
You wanted examples?
General examples. Okay. I want to compromise.
As I've indicated earlier, we've got agreements with different countries to make sure that we can cooperate, more especially in areas where we have identified as either source countries for such criminalities, or they have identified us is either a source country for that criminality, but also or a transit country or a host country would not necessarily as being a source. If I then mention countries, I'll be creating a problem of us being accused of saying this country is a source of criminality. So I will not want to go there. But what I can do, and if you can rephrase, if you can do that question in writing and put it through to the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence, which this House is represented, we can then provide that relevant detail. Because I think members may want to know, but the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence will have then the ability to get the details of which are the countries who have identified that are source countries for the criminality that's transported into the country, and which are the countries who have approached us to say we may be hosting criminal elements either from their country that are responsible for these transnational crimes, and also what are the countries where we are worried or concerned about which we do not have agreements on. And that detail we can provide to the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. I hope it is acceptable to the member.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I want to thank the Honourable Minister. I know this was your first visit to the NCOP. Please feel free to visit us again. And I know you're not intimidated by the difficult questions. So thank you very much, Honourable Minister. That brings us to the close of questions to you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Deputy Chair.
Honourable Minister, you can feel free to remain with us for as long as you have time. Thank you. Honourable members, we now move on to the next set of questions that were referred to the Minister of Police. And I want to welcome the Minister of Police, who is on the virtual platform. And we will ask the Minister to respond to the first question, that is question 119, that was posed by the Honourable Nonkonyana. Honourable Minister, your response to question 119, please.
Thank you very much to you, Chair. Greetings to all the members of the NCOP. The reply to the question is A1, selling of drugs. The South African Police Service employs various strategies to curb crime in schools, such as school safety programs, which addresses issues like bullying, gender-based violence, gang-related activities, drugs and substance abuse. And with regard to drug selling, SAPS utilizes intelligence from school community, including learners, and do drug searches. That is A1. And A2, SAPS has a collaboration with the Department of Basic Education, which was introduced by DBE, the school safety programs, and we collaborate with them on that, and it enables us to embark on the same fight against drugs in schools. We do search and seizures, especially when requested by schools, relevant schools and school authorities. But sometimes SAPS approach schools when there's a reason for that. SAPS, in collaboration with DPA, therefore, identifies schools that are affected by selling drugs, and are included in the database, and depending on the situation. And then there's also the establishment and maintenance of sustainable partnership by SAPS with crucial element of the SAPS ongoing approach to implementation of cooperation that have been established in key metros like Nelson Mandela, Cape Town, Ekurhuleni, Johannesburg, eThekwini, and so on, those metros. But also we pick up issues during Chanela operations throughout the country, which is a multidisciplinary high-density operation, to pick up issues like illegal taverns in the proximity of schools. I submit.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now move on to the follow-up questions from Honourable Nonkunyana.
Deputy Chair, thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for your elaborate reply to my question. The Eastern Cape Department of Basic Education has taken bold and progressive steps to address these mischiefs by inter alia banning sale of alcohol at our schools and extending the radius of all the liquor license, such as taverns, from 100 meters to 500 meters away from schools, places of worship, etc. Now, does your department support these progressive steps, Honourable Minister, and determined to work with the Department of Basic Education, as we have said, particularly the school governing bodies and traditional authorities as well as municipalities, to prevent sale of drugs and liquor to the learners in South Africa? Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Nonkunyana. Honourable Minister, your response, please.
Thank you very much for the follow-up question, Honourable Ikosi Nonkunyana. Indeed, we would support the department. I'm saying we would support the Department of Education, Basic Education in the Eastern Cape, because at the moment we are awaiting a meeting. In fact, it is today, later today, with the Minister of Basic Education to deal with this particular problem. It is a meeting that has long been outstanding to deal with these matters. What we want to do in that meeting is to catch up with their observations and analysis of their safety measures, in other words, of the needs for safety measures in schools. And we are expecting that there will be an elaborate input or presentation to which we will then react. And I suspect that we would want to make analysis, we would want to update our collaborative measures, and we'll then move on like that. And then partnerships, indeed, are the measure of the day. Without partnerships with school governing bodies, we can't go anywhere. And as for partnerships with municipalities, we're already there and want to intensify that. And that's the name of the game. And you'll know, Honourable Nonkunyana, that a few weeks ago, we discovered factories of drugs in Standerton, which meant that we were fighting drugs in the streets and schools in Standerton, while the factories were supplying and replacing whatever we would have removed from the streets. And therefore, collaboration is extremely important and useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honourable Adriansa.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair, Honourable Minister. Minister, drugs is an equalizer. Gang members around the country, particularly those who belong to the so-called numbers gangs, are disguising themselves in school uniforms to infiltrate schools and peddle drugs in schools such as the Cape Flats and elsewhere. This tactic demands a surgical intervention by the anti-gang unit in order to tackle the plague of drugs in schools. However, we are aware the AGU is severely under-resourced. How is the effectiveness of collaborative measures assessed, and what proactive steps are taken to educate both parents and teachers about the crimes associated with drug use, its consequences, and the signs of substance abuse? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Adrianse. Honorable Minister, your response.
Now, first and foremost, I want to take this opportunity and encourage parents, encourage learners themselves, members of the community, and all organized groupings in society everywhere, including in Cape Flats, to take a stand and collaborate among themselves, so that over and above us collaborating with the municipality, in this case, the municipality of the Western Cape of Cape Town, but we also collaborate at a very low level, community level, which we believe will be important in fighting this scourge. And I can indicate, as a matter of fact, that I know that we have an outstanding meeting with some of the groupings there that have already done so, and we owe them a report back where we will effectively almost launch or roll out our collaboration after having elaborate discussions with them some time ago. But I'm also wanting to emphasize, as you did, Honorable Member, that drug abuse, drugs availability in any area should be taken as a no by all. We have units ourselves that are busy on these matters. They include the anti-drug units that is leading the charges on this matter. But we do see, as a final point, that we still need to intensify our direct fight, including on sources of drugs, conduits, and those who are behind this, and the distributors, so that we can deal with the whole of the value chain that ends up with drugs getting to our streets and to our children.
Honorable Minister, have you concluded that response?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. We now move on to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honorable Machobeni.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Minister, many schools in South Africa continue to battle with the problem of substance use among learners. Drug use is becoming a pandemic. As young people as young as 11 and 12 years old in the 5th or 6th grade are experimenting with drugs. This, of course, is preventable. In light of this, what strategies have you taken to ensure that the drug programs or classes which you speak of are engaging with a focus on why students shouldn't do drugs in the first place, rather than the basic facts about drugs and their effects? And secondly, in what ways do your programs make it harder for young people to actually access drugs so that the problem is listened? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister, your response, please.
Thank you very much. We want to confirm the concern raised by the Honorable Member that our crime stats does indicate that criminal activities, all of them. I mean, be it assaults, incidents, drug abuse, sexual molestation, and even murders in some cases, are some of the things that are noticeable and are on the increase in schools. Now, in terms of strategies, number one, we have this meeting that I've spoken about with the Minister of Basic Education to say, over and above the strategy that has been in use for some time now, what are the new observations that education authorities are making? And what response must we all collectively give? We are expecting that these things that the honorable member is referring to will come out in the meeting and will require that we work flat out within reasonable time together with basic education to craft new responses, because, as you say, the age by which these children are starting to use drugs and engage on these activities is getting lower and lower. And this will inevitably cause us to look at family levels. What is happening in the families in South Africa? What are the changes that are noticeable? That, I mean, in terms of possible breakdown of families, such that young children of 12, 13 can use drugs. We have stats that include statistics in terms of the ages of children, even on getting pregnant. At what age you have an 8-year-old at some point indicated as having fallen pregnant, even at young. So those are the things that we need to take comprehensively. But we allow ourselves to be led by basic education because we don't think we can pull it alone without principles, knowing what is the disciplinary code that is applicable across the board in all schools. Are they being complied with? Governing bodies, what's their role, and society, and then ultimately the authorities themselves, the departments and provinces and nationally, and then we will know what angle we should take. So I would say that we are determined to make it harder, indeed, for young children to access this. And it talks to what I said earlier, that we need to trace the whole value chain and take preventative measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honourable van den Berg.
Thank you, Chair. I want to encourage the Minister and his department to keep up the fight against this terrible social problem that we have. Now, we hear about forensic testing at the SAPS falling behind. My question to the Minister is SAPS involved with regular drug testing at schools as a deterrent to drug use? I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Minister, your response.
What SAPS are involved in at the moment is a collaborative fight against drugs via measures that I've indicated, occasional raidings of schools where SAPS get invited to schools and then they conduct raids and all of that. But just testing alone, unless some substances have been found and they require testing in labs, that ensues after what would have been seized by police in schools. But as I say, when we engage with the Department of Basic Education, we may need to overlap on those and say, what are the proactive measures that we need to engage? Of course, in order for you to test, you would need drugs themselves. Once there is that discovery, it does require testing to determine the type and all of that. And that would come out when we have our meeting later today with the Minister of Basic Education, so that we can move on with some of those measures.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. That brings us to the end of the follow-up questions for question 119. We now move on to question 113 that was asked by the Honourable Godsell. Honourable Minister, your response to question 113, please.
The protection that is provided to very important persons, VIPs, is regulated by Cabinet-approved policy and risk management system, protection packages of 2004, which specify the mandate of the South African Police Services. The aforementioned policy specifics or specifies that the provisioning of protection services to specific VIPs is based on risk determination, which implies that a threat risk assessment will determine security measures that are provided to VIPs. Now, I did see that the question does elaborate to say or to imply that that incident would lead to automatic increased security for the Deputy President. And we're saying no, risks get assessed first, and determination gets made, and then decisions get taken accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable Godsell, follow-up question.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and good afternoon, Honourable Minister. Yes, indeed, you got the gist. While the President and the Deputy President refer concerns about their bloated blue light convoys to your office, you routinely block MPs' attempts at oversight through their parliamentary questions by citing security concerns. Yet, without scrutiny, Minister, the alleged stray bullet incident involving the Deputy President's convoy was used to escalate his protection, conveniently as the ANC succession battles heated up. So, Minister, how do you justify millions spent on VIP security bullies that still fail in their job, while ordinary South Africans wait for months for DNA results in rape and murder cases, and communities like the Cape Flats remain terrorized as the anti-gang unit is left crippled by budget cuts and poor SAPS leadership in the Western Cape Province?
Honourable Godsell, Honourable Minister, your response.
Thank you very much. I do want to separate things, and I would want to persuade us to separate things. In as much as one family can be seen to be wasting food and even throwing it away when next door is having problems, I do want us to separate things. Security-related matters and needs for money to do other things, so that we don't create an impression that those problems exist because all the money is used to secure the President and the Deputy President. Having said that, I do want to say that go back to what I said, that any move on security for VIPs is done after an assessment would have been done, and thoroughly so, and get to determine properly what measures need to be taken depending on the outcome of such an assessment of risk or threat. And I would want us to cut our matter just limit it to that so that we don't get tempted to link things that do not necessarily link up. Because another person may say, we have lights in the NCOP when it is dark in some other area, and we should be sharing electricity or the electricity weight and so on. So I'm just saying that we need to focus on what we are indicating as criteria for providing any security, including any increase or decrease.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now move on to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honourable Nue.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for the response to the question. Given the event that has been referred to in the main question and your response regarding the provision of the Act, I just want or request the Minister perhaps to give the South African further assurance that SAPS being responsible for the VIPs, that includes kings and queens and former presidents and deputy presidents and the executive, is the Minister satisfied that current measures are enough to ensure the safety of all the VIPs referred to above? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Nue. Honourable Minister, your response.
If you take any threat or any incident threatening any VIP or anyone provided with security, I would say we haven't received any complaint that the services that are being rendered to them is inadequate in any way. And therefore, I would respond by saying that we are satisfied that SAPS are doing their job. They are doing very well in that aspect. But I mean, of providing VIP services to the VIP security services to designated VIPs, and I would then go on to say, therefore, I'm satisfied, but indicate that it is trickling in to us that the demand that is being made on SAPS on this matter needs to be always be under control by the National Commissioner and all ourselves around him, so that we don't get tempted to really find ourselves in a problem in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honourable Gericke.
Thank you, Chair and Minister. We have recently witnessed contradictory media statements and political grandstanding from the ANC with regard to the reported attack on the car of the Deputy President. What is the official government response on the matter, and is there a definite investigation in this regard? If so, how far is the investigation, and if not, why not? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Gericke. Honourable Minister, your response.
Following that incident, a government on the side of it did make a statement through the National Commissioner confirming that an incident had happened as alleged or as reported in media, and he further indicated and confirmed that the matter is under investigation and that the matter would be finalized in due course, and the National Commissioner will, in due course, at the right time, make good of that statement. We are also encouraging him to finalize that report and make it public. Now, I'm not aware of any contradictory statements from the African National Congress, and maybe we can call them to the NCOP to clarify the matter if that's a concern of the Honorable House. But as from the side of government, yes, those confirmations are there, and the matter will be finalized.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The last follow-up question is from the Honourable Majola.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. Thank you very much, Minister, for your responses. Reading from your responses, you did mention that this VIP unity is regulated by pieces of legislation, which I also believe that the Discipline Regulation Act of SAPS is part of that. Without isolating one incident for the Deputy President, regarding a number of incidents that have been reported in the past 5 years, can the Minister give us success stories with regard to the successful prosecutions or disciplinary cases that has been finalized? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Majola. Honourable Minister, a response?
Thank you very much, Honourable Majola. Indeed, I confirm the regulations and confirm that there would have been incidents, including that one of involving the convoy of the Deputy President. And I'm not in a position to tabulate the list of successes and so on, but can confirm that whenever there is an allegation of misconduct of any kind involving VIPs, action does get taken against the member. These do happen from time to time, and those responsible for such actions, they do take them. I may as well say that the measures that get taken against members are in accordance with the regulations, and they follow procedures that are prescribed, like witnesses, like chair weighing up all evidence and all of that. So there are strict procedures that get followed in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. That brings us to the end of follow-up questions to question 113. We now move on to question 106 that was posed by the Honourable Herika. Honourable Minister, your response to question 106, please.
The response is that the anti-gang strategy was developed to ensure that an integrated and interdepartmental approach is applied to resolve problem of gangs. Now, gangsterism and address its root causes. The development of strategy was coordinated by Civilian Secretariat and included key departments such as police, correctional services, justice, and National Prosecution Authority, and education. Now, SAPS anti-gang units are at the forefront of policing interventions to address anti-gang related crimes, violence, and they work closely with organized crime investigations, the DPCI and NPA, and the anti-gang unit. They were all established in 3 provinces, namely Western Cape, Gauteng, and the Eastern Cape. And an additional 4 provinces where these were established at a level of a dedicated capacity to deal with anti-gang crimes including in the Free State, KZN, Northwest, and Mpumalanga. Currently, all provinces have established anti-gang investigation units with organized crime investigations component, and the investigation of gang-related crimes are dealt with using either a project-driven or major investigation approach informed by Organized Crime Act 1998, Act number 121 of 1998. The DPCI, which investigates serious organized crime, has established a national task team, which is currently dealing with three major projects, namely Guardian and projects Phoenix 1 and 2. Multiplicity of teams from SAPS national office are deployed at gang-related crime hotspots, such as Eastern Cape and Western Cape, to assist provinces with investigations of gang-related. The SAPS and DPCI also collaborate with Financial Intelligence Center and State Security Agency in some cases, depending on their nature and complexity. And this is our response. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The follow-up question is from Honourable Gericke.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, yes, just last year, between the months of October and December, gang-related murders in the Western Cape province reached record highs, as 263 people were murdered between a space of just 3 months. No one can still be in denial that the current policing model is failing the people of this country. Given this grim reality, what urgent steps of intervention have you taken to deploy maximum resources on a 24-hour basis to communities such as Mitchells Plain, Hanover Park, East Terrace in Pretoria, and Eldorado Park in Johannesburg? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Gericke. Honourable Minister, your response.
In these areas in particular, and that the honourable member has referred to, and in other similar areas that he has not referred to, what is being said is true. Our take is that these areas, and others, of course, all of them, require measures that are in the process, that are in the making, if I could speak like that, because they require sets of actions that are not normal and part of normal policing. Now we are dealing with that matter, and we are taking it there to in the final stages, and we should be able to report in due course to the House once those actions, and by then I'm sure the actions will have taken place. It's clear to us you are not talking about hotspots here. We are talking about something else that is far more than hotspots, and therefore it requires extra measures. I would at this stage just put it like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honourable Phala.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, you have adequately answered the question, but my question was going to be: are there any, at least notable successes in this anti-gang, initiatives? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Minister, your response.
Yes, I would say yes, but maybe not completely measurable in the first place, because these activities are criminal activities that are in the making, let me say, on a daily basis, and it's difficult to predict, and so on. But I would say, let me use kidnappings as an example. Much as we can talk about a kind of an increase in the in the kidnappings in the country. But if you look at how South African police have resolved each one of these cases, comparing it to those that are outstanding, you would see that the number of kidnappings is trailed very close, if not completely at par with measures to resolve these matters, whether people are found alive or not alive. But in almost all the cases of kidnapping, at one point or the other, we do resolve such matters ultimately. There may be a few that, so I'm using that as a measure. What happens when an incident happens? We do take action, and most of the time we are successful. I may as well also want to warn the public. In some cases, we get false alarms. Yesterday, I got an urgent call in the evening that somebody's mother in the East Rand had disappeared, only to find that it was just a family squabble, and one member of the family took the mother away without noticing the others. And then it was reported as a kidnapping. And that people should excuse police from such unnecessary alerts. They were even reporting that the said police station only reported as having only one van. And within minutes, like 15 minutes or so, we're able to get that matter, and in about 30 minutes get over the matter completely. So I'm saying that gangs are out there in action, but we may not be saying at this stage that as the activities happen, we're able to resolve them on the spot, but we are increasingly experiencing successes or seeing increased successes in dealing with gangs. Just yesterday, in Amaoti, 3 criminals which were wanted, or who were wanted, one of them quite prominent, they were dealt with permanently. And the day before, there were others in Hammersdale that received the same. And I'm saying, when you come to such actions, or we experience such incidents, police don't hesitate, just like in the Eastern Cape as well, and some of the incidents here in Gauteng. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honourable Mokai.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chair, and good afternoon to the Minister. Minister, the anti-gang unit has shown some successes in combating gang-related crime, particularly in areas such as Cape Town, here in the Western Cape. Their efforts have resulted in numerous arrests, seizures of firearms and drugs, and a reduction in some types of gang-related violence. However, the effectiveness of the anti-gang unit is also influenced by factors like resource constraint and the need for ongoing community collaboration. Compounded by these functions to provinces and capable municipal governments, compounded by this is a highly centralized system. Can you integrate your support to review and devolve policing functions to provinces and capable municipal governments for a more focused and localized policing given specific needs of different communities? And this is in line with constitutional provisions, especially Section 206 and 207. I thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Mokai. Honourable Minister.
I would only emphasize the need for us to cooperate with or forging cooperation between national, that is SAPS, the next sphere of government, which is the provincial governments, and then local government, which is next sphere. So far, those agreements that we signed with the intention to collaborate, we are seeing progress, including what the honorable member is talking about. Now, as for devolution of power, we are not necessarily dealing with that matter, as long as we are, or instead, we are dealing with collaborative efforts between the three spheres, and of course, wanting to tap on capacity in the metros in particular. But the matter, it does get raised from time to time. And recently we did complete our view and made it known on devolution, taking into consideration all the provisions from the Constitution to others. But it should not send any wrong message that the matter is being raised now and then, that a wrong message that that say that there is a miracle that will flow from any kind of devolution other than collaboration. What we need is more of collaboration, is more of understanding what we need to do on the ground, all of us working together to combat crime. That is what needs to be put in action and emphasized all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honourable Farmer, who is on the virtual platform. Honourable Farmer.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair. Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, gangsterism as a national security emergency has evolved beyond localized crime. It now functions as organized crime syndicates, infiltrating industries like construction, transport, and even law enforcement. Has the government formally classified gangsterism as a national security threat? And if so, what steps are being taken to mobilize special task forces across departments? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Farmer. Honourable Minister, your response.
Recently, we have taken a decision to split our one branch called VISPOL, that is Visible Policing. We are splitting it into VISPOL on one hand and operations on the other. Operation response kind of a division. There will be two divisions out of one, in other words. The reason for that is to do exactly what the honourable member, among others, is talking about, to increase our capacity and our presence and our operational capacity, rather, and within a framework where you have very limited resources, to say how do we optimally use our limited resources to actually achieve what we need to achieve, combating these highly organized crime syndicates that are found, especially in the 4 provinces, Gauteng, KZN, and Western Cape, and that is where we are saying we are going to, so that we can prevent a situation where they are ahead of us, and instead we are able to deal with them on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. That brings us to the end of follow-up questions to question 106. We now move on to question 120 that was asked by the Honorable Mananiso. Honorable Minister, your response to question 106. Sorry, question 120.
Yes. The South African Police Service has implemented proactive measures that aim at preventing unethical behavior and to improve integrity among employees. The SAPS has a code of conduct that is issued in terms of Section 24(1)H of the SAPS Act, and SAPS Employment Regulations 2018 Chapter 2 sets out the required conduct while dealing with various spheres of government, the public and other employees, as well as institutionalizing public service regulations 16 in relation to the disclosure of interests and anti-corruption functions. SAPS employees are compelled to sign an annual certificate to pledge their commitment to both SAPS Public Service Act codes of conduct. And then that is SAPS and Public Service Act code of conduct. SAPS expect the highest standard of behavior on the part of its employees. And there are internal awareness programs to make employees focus and aware on through workshops and advocacy and all of that on ethics, awareness, and other related matters. And SAPS also implement security screening processes during recruitment and selection of entry-level police trainees, which includes fingerprint screening with the local criminal records center, verification of qualifications with South African Qualifications Authority, reference background checking with previous employers and schools, buccal samples taken at processed and possible criminal association, criminal intelligence vetting, citizenship vetting, verification of global access control system, financial status, conflict of interest. These are all the measures that get taken to ensure as much as possible that screening of members is undertaken initially, and that from time to time their integrity is put on check. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The follow-up question from Honorable Mananiso.
Thank you, Deputy Chair, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for your response. My question is that during noting that there's an ethical code of conduct that all police are signing, I want to check if these matters were part and parcel of the discussions during the police summit. So if it was part of the discussions, can you share with us what were the burning issues in relation to this matter? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mananiso. Honorable Minister, your response.
Yes, in the recent policing summit that we held for 3 days, this matter featured quite prominently, first in the addresses, firstly by the President and by us as well, but it went on to receive attention in the various breakaway groups and in reports back, and in the final product that was presented to the summit plenary. And in the main, it was, among other things, a very strong endorsement of the need to ensure within SAPS that integrity matters, good conduct, and related matters are upheld, including people facing consequences once they derail from the way. But we even added among criteria for trainees going forward, that we are going to need licenses, driver's licenses, in order for them to qualify for training over and above matric, and all the other lists that I'm taking of, measures that are regarded as standing and standardized procedures. Yes, we want to uphold policing as a profession, a very, very prominent profession in South Africa, and let others, young people getting in, and keep those who are in continuing in the display of good conduct, and helping the profession and South African police to continue to be the pride of the nation, as is happening now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honourable Mokai.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chair. Minister, given your response on vetting and accountability, how do you justify the quiet reassignment of a SAPS officer who was who was arrested in Kleinvlei over the Easter weekend with a large amount of men, drugs, and tech? B, the internal acquittal of officers involved in the Deputy President Blue Light case. And C, the mere 2-month suspension of Officer Sabodin for selling police dockers. When these cases reveal a clear pattern of SAPS leadership protecting compromised officers instead of enforcing credible discipline and ethical policing. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mokai. Honourable Minister, your response.
I didn't bring with me the number of disciplinary cases that we have at the moment, and the total of disciplinary cases involving firing of police officers after disciplinary cases. But it's quite a remarkable number, if not shocking, which is a clear demonstration that action gets taken whenever there is wrongdoing on the side of police, of police officers of whatever nature. Now, the cases that he is referring to, like recent acquittal, these are matters that get dealt with following certain procedures within police, which all of us, like this one, the acquittal, wanted to see the report, wanted to hear what had happened, and preliminary reports show that there were procedural matters that were followed, resulting into that. Whether it's what would have been expected or not, like in any other disciplinary case outcome, sometimes you would expect something, but procedures and what actually happens during the disciplinary case process becomes or lands you in a different outcome. But we are making all efforts to uphold good conduct, to uphold ethical conduct, to ensure that police are not contaminated with rotten apples and so on. And this is shown and demonstrated by arrests. One of the most recent arrests is the one that involved an officer who has been accused for an alleged rape of a trainee at the college. Action was taken very swiftly, and he is inside. And we want to be as straightforward as possible and actually ensure that everyone who shows or displays a deviant behavior does, the consequences do follow and follow swiftly to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honourable Chirwa Mpongose, who is on the virtual platform.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo. Mosebeletsi o na le bosenyi bo bo diragalang mo di-locationeng tsa rona mo maphodisa a na leng sebedisano le disenyi. Maphodisa e leng ona a thusanang le disenyi. Disenyi di tlhotlholetsa badudi gore go be le thulano pele ga di-eyewitness tsa bone. And then the criminals go and open fraudulent attempted murder cases. Re tlhaloganye if the cases tse di ngodisitswe now on the system of the SAPS. The police then go and offer these alleged perpetrators who are innocent civilians an opportunity ya go timetsa di-docket ka theko e itseng. The most common amount being 10,000 rands. Whistleblower e tlileng le tshedimoso ye e tshaba go le bolelela gobane this country has a bad record concerning whistleblowers, especially co-locationing where murders and crimes like murders don't even make the news or receive priority. Ba bang ebile ba bolailwe mosebeletsi. Potso ya rena ke gore, is there a special reporting system e na leng tisetso ya gore di whistleblower di fumane tshireletso na? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chirwan Pongose. Honorable Minister, your response.
I will do the best to answer without anyone helping me with the interpretation or with the translation. We do wish and feel the need for whistleblowers on one hand to be protected. And in fact, the police have programs, specialized programs that put whistleblowers to protection. And currently we do have a number of them who are in such programs. But this is just to make sure that those who come forward with information that is helpful in unraveling some cases, that it happens. I do admit that there are incidents of police collaborating with wrongdoers, and I do want to confirm that in some cases you hear of dockets being sold and bought, and not only dockets, but a specific police specializing in some cases on destroying cases when such come to them. And I want to state it clearly that we are increasingly identifying such stations. We are increasingly identifying such senior police, because this is led by senior police officers. It's not led by young junior police officers. It's senior police officers that are involved in this. And we in due course, we will be taking action against those. And as I say, it's not exaggerating that some police officers unduly pocket money for missing dockets and all of that. So there is protection to anything that police officers do to destroy cases. They know it's breach of the law and it's breach of the conduct that is expected of them. And they know when they get found, they will be facing possible expulsion after due processes. But as I'm saying, we also implore members of Parliament to indicate confidentially to us when they come across such incidents, because we don't want to beat about the bush. We are against any police officer collaborating with criminals and selling dockets. It's wrong. It shouldn't be accepted by anyone, both in the public, but also by us as public servants, as public representatives. But as the department, we also are against that, and we're taking action against them. But we are wanting to quickly introduce technology. It's part of what our measures of introducing technology will accommodate e-dockets, so that even if you pay whatever amount, that collaboration doesn't end up destroying a case, because the case will still be reflecting technologically in our data, and this is part of eliminating this kind of old age criminality on the part of police. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The last follow-up question is from the Honourable van den Berg.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, we've got another one for you. I know a young lady that wants to join SAPS to be involved in forensics and investigations out of real interest in this field, but she's afraid of a hostile working environment, victimization, and criminality at SAPS. She also LLB, lower degree. Does she have valid reason for this perception? How can the police service draw young professional people to work for them? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Minister, your response.
I would first encourage you to make the young lady apply as a prospective police officer. Those qualifications seem very enticing, and she seems to have a passion. I would want to say there is no reason to really believe that the environment within police is hostile, and hostile to the effect that she can't enlist as a police officer. It is now known very well, sad as it is, that we lost 3 very young police officers in the incident that took place in Hanops River. All of them had joined in 2023 and got admitted as police officers only in July last year. Very, very, very young, in their 20s, in their 30s. So they are already, in fact, we have less money than we need to enlist more of them. And all of those that have recently enlisted and have become police officers, none of them are indicating any hostility or any concern about the environment. And therefore, I would simply focus my attention to saying that please encourage the young lady to join. That hostile environment is a hearsay. Let her come in, and inside police inside, once she is inside, she has people who are her supervisors, people who write up to National Commissioner. She has ministry to hear her out should any concern arise. And we do receive those, and they do receive our attention, because it's our intention to keep upright people who are able to report wrongdoing and stand for right doing inside SAPS without fear of getting intimidated in one way or the other. I know that there would have been such incidents clandestinely. In some cases, you do hear such after the effect, but that's not what is dominating. That's not what is allowed. That's not what we promote. What we're promoting is that there's no police officer who should be harassed or intimidated for doing what is correct. And again, we want to take this opportunity, warn senior police officers, especially in the stations, who get compromised, and then they want to compromise those who are below them along their ways. But we are here to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Good afternoon to you and to the honourable delegates in the House. Minister, we now call on you to respond to question number 100. Question number 100 was asked by the Mkhonto weSizwe delegate from KwaZulu-Natal, Honourable Mokoena, and it relates to the interference in investigations. If you can respond to the question, please, Minister.
To date, there is no evidence to suggest that IPIT has experienced politically motivated interference or any other kind of interference in their investigations. IPIT operates independently, and its mandate is to investigate complaints of police misconduct and criminality without fear or favor. I would, having read this question even twice or three times, trying to understand what the honorable member was actually saying, I certainly came to the conclusion that I think there is temptation to emulate the President of the United States, where you avoid saying things as they are, like South Africa is taking a stand against what Israel is doing in Palestine, and therefore they deserve to be punished. And what we are seeing happening, this is what it comes as a result of that, including even at the risk of integrity of the President of the United States himself, using untruths to substantiate what he wants to achieve without saying so, actually. I read the question. It talks about allegations of politically motivated, and we don't have those allegations. It talks about key figures. We don't know. The Constitution of the Republic doesn't talk about key figures. It talks about just citizens and so on. So we don't know where this false use of words, according to some people, where they come from. And I would like to plead with the honorable member, because he is already in a prominent position of leadership, that use the liberty of Parliament, of the NCOP, to call things as they are. If you know of anybody who is so-called key figure, say so. If you know politically motivated, say it, that so-and-so did this and this to politically interfere on the work of IPIT. Don't insinuate, don't go, because what are you fearing? You are not fearing, you are guaranteed protection by cabinet. If you do this, you are promoting mystery, unnecessary mystery in parliamentary corridors, which is a wrong place. Maybe in a rally, you can say, talk like that. But here, say things as they are, because you are at liberty. Use the freedom that we fought for to tell the truth as it is. Don't protect people who don't exist under false pretenses. I'm really feeling very strong that the member should be brave and come out with what he wants to say. Otherwise, there's no evidence that suggests that IPIT is being intimidated in any form or the other. Legislative framework, IPIT Act, provides clear mandate to IPIT, and the functions of this structure, it guarantees them independence, operational autonomy, transparent procedures, parliamentary oversight. In fact, if there was any substance in the allegation, the honorable member has liberty to ask for IPIT to be summoned to the NCOP, to be questioned, so that they can speak for themselves about that kind of intimidation, whether they're experiencing it or not, because you have oversight as Parliament. Use those powers instead. There is judicial review. There is an amendment to the IPIT Act to try and strengthen their independence. Therefore, I think we should stop adopting Trumpism of not being direct when you do things and when you say things. You try to go via routes that are not plausible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that reply, Minister. The Honourable Mokoena is participating virtually this afternoon. We now invite Honourable Mokoena to ask a supplementary question.
Thank you, Chair. I find it appalling that there's a new term now, Trumpism, that's being used by a minister in South Africa, because it goes without saying that these cases do exist. Minister, your response raises actually more questions than answers for me. And as the MK party, we'll gladly give you a list of cases where we feel that undue preference has been done to people in leadership. Are you prepared to take the NCOP into full confidence on high-profile investigations currently under the IP's purview to dispel our concerns of undue influence? Or should South Africans conclude that your department has something to hide? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mokoena. And back to you, Minister, for a reply to that supplementary, please.
If I'm requested to come to the NCOP and indicate to you what IPIT is investigating with their permission, because they are an independent structure of in the service of South Africans, I am prepared to do so without any hesitation whatsoever. But the honourable member need to understand that I don't just off cuff know what IPIT is currently investigating without them making an appointment with us in the ministry and saying, Minister, there is a matter that we think we need to come and make you aware of. When they do so, I allow them to come, and it is up to them and their discretion to tell me what is it and how far they brief me on whatever they are briefing me. I have no authority to summon them and say, give me the list, give me the details. It doesn't work like that. But I can relate to you what they up to now have related to me in the manner that they did. And there's no reason why I should hide it from yourself when required to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The next opportunity for a supplementary question passes to the Honourable Nue.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, Minister. Maybe to take this question to a very positive kind of information that this House may be interested in regarding police officers who at some stage, which is a concern perhaps of the public, may find themselves on the wrong side of the law. As a department minister, are you satisfied with cases that are before the IPIT, that IPIT is attending to those cases timeously and adequately to make sure that there's an instilling of discipline within the police service? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Back to you, please, for a reply, Minister.
Thank you very much. I am satisfied that IPIT is doing their job and they are doing the best that they can to meet their mandate to meet their obligations under their or in terms of their mandate. They may be short of staff or all the resources to do optimally, but under the circumstances, I am satisfied that they are doing their best to help us to deal with unwarranted behavior on the side of police, and they are doing that without any fear and any favor. They haven't come to us to say they feel unprotected in a particular way, and therefore, if anything, we need to try and give them more resources because unlike the ordinary sometimes wrong assumption on the side of some people in the public, IPIT doesn't limit exercise of police when doing their duty, when police do their duty. They don't even stop them from using lethal force. All that they are there for is to make sure that whatever happens in whatever manner it happens within the framework of the law, and so on. And they take complaints when such complaints, and indeed, I would say more than 90% of their issues end up positively assisting all of us to work within the law, and not, but particularly to refrain from abusing power where such incidents would have taken place. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. The next supplementary question will come from the Honourable Mokai.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair, and once again to the Minister. Minister, the instability and the very public squabbles in the management and the leadership of the SAPS is the last thing South Africans need, given the high and increasing rate of crime. What action are you taking to stabilize the leadership and the management of the SAPS to regain public trust, and what results are your efforts yielding in this regard? Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Mokai. Back to you, Minister, please.
Other than talking unity among leadership personnel in police, the need for unity, the need for transparency, the need to take everybody's grievances and to take everything seriously. I wouldn't be in a position to say exactly what we are doing right now until maybe at some other point, once we have gone through what we regard as quite high-level kinds of interventions that we see are necessary and about to embark on those, just to ensure that whatever we are aware of, whatever we've come to be aware of in the time that we've been in SAPS gets addressed, no matter how sensitive, no matter how difficult, but it is our intention to do so. And when we have gone through in terms of results, we will indicate that. But other than that, the results of our general interventions are that, by and large, notwithstanding such challenges, police are doing their work. There's no fundamental breakdown. Instead, what we are wanting is optimal cooperation, so that even when there is a mistake or two that one of them may do and disturbs another, it becomes easy to tolerate that, because the climate itself must be healthy and enabling, as opposed to when people are not in talking terms, people are not in working relations terms, and so on. So there's no breakdown, but there's a need to assist and intervene at some point. But generally, work is continuing normally, and we are not overly concerned about the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. The last supplementary question on question number 100 will be posed by the Honourable Gigaba from the Economic Freedom Fighters.
Thank you, House Chair and Minister. It is important for a unit tasked with investigating corruption and organized crime to have credibility among citizens and to enjoy public confidence. Yet the situation is quite different in this country, as different investigation entities contradict each other in the process of perusing the law. Given that IPID has in the past been docked by allegations of interference, as is seen in the efforts to protect President Ramaphosa from accountability for the Pala scandal, which measures have you specifically put in place to ensure that IPID is insulated against corruption amongst its own members? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Chirika. Minister, may we have your response to that, please?
Within IPID themselves, there are regulations, there are standard procedures, and all of that disallow them from being compromised in one way or the other. And where such incidents happen, disciplinary action does take place. But your reference to IPID, not, in relation to Palapala, we've explained that in the past, that there's no hiding any information whatsoever on the side of IPID. We call them, they explained to us that the reason why they couldn't allow publication of their report was because there was another body in this instance that was doing, I think it was DCPI, DPCI, who were doing work of a criminal nature on the matter. And if they were then doing that, it would be undue to then start naming things and so on, while the other arm. What rather, I must say, they don't necessarily ordinarily contradict themselves. They work in synergy. That is why IPID for a while couldn't publicize that report. But there is no expectation from us, no feeling on our side or observation that IPID is compromised in one way or the other with because of pressure from outside and all of that. But I can take this opportunity to say there are efforts within government to transcend the current situation where you have a multiplicity of law enforcement agencies. Instead, towards a unified kind of law enforcement agency in the country for impact and the use of resources within, to make it far more possible and far more easier and to combat crime as such. But at the moment, there are efforts to synergize their efforts to get the results that we want, all of us in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Minister, we now move on to question number 121. It was asked by the African National Congress's delegate from the Northwest, the Honourable Madupe. The question relates to or is asking for an update on the activities of the State Capture Task Team. If you can reply to that question, please, Minister.
The DPCI State Capture Investigation Team has investigated 19 cases that involve government departments and or private entities up to now. 4 cases are on the court roll. 2 cases are pending decision from National Prosecuting Authority, and 6 cases are still under investigation. 7 cases were finalized with 4 convictions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. The opportunity for follow-up goes to Honourable Madupe.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. And once more, thank you, Honourable Minister, for your response to our question. This clearly clarifies us as communities out there that something is being done by the task team in giving attention to the matter that has been referred to it by the State Capture Commission. And there will be that will assist the NCOP to receive periodic response updates on the cases from Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation. However, Honourable Minister, there is a sense of DPCI that it is taking a bit long, but does not complete. Does this happen as a result of complexity of cases, or efforts on the time, it takes too long to finalize the matters. So I move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madupe. Your response, please, Minister.
Yes, we note the concern of delays. Had it been for us, we would have had all these cases finalized just like before, and having like the 7 more than those and at an advanced stage, because ultimately all of us are seeking justice and fairness arising from those matters of state capture. But there would be various limitations like investigators. There's just a personnel and other related resources. But I don't want to emphasize those as to prohibit justice being seen to be done and in time. We will. We have put DPCI under pressure, and we do so from time to time to ask them to speed up what they are doing without undue pressure, and try to assist them here and there where we have within reach the necessary resources. But it's our intention to have them complete the cases as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Let's pass an opportunity now to the Honourable Godsell for a supplementary question.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon again, Minister. Minister, in response to a previous parliamentary question by myself, you confirmed to me that the investigation into Honourable Malusi Gigaba is still ongoing, despite the Zondo Commission's detailed findings and sworn evidence being available to investigators for over 3 years now. Minister, how do you justify this continued inaction, and what message does it send to the public about SAPS's credibility in restoring trust and ensuring accountability for state capture when every question that we ask is responded to with a strapline, "The investigation is ongoing"?
Thank you, Honourable Godsell. Minister, back to you, please.
I do want to say as a starting point that I haven't justified anything, because the question is, how do you justify? I'm not justifying any delays. I've just said we are all concerned about delays or the long time that it has taken to get where we are. But at the same time, I must qualify what I'm saying by not justifying, but just indicating the objective fact that there are challenges in terms of resources, well known to the member and to NCOP as a whole, well known to us. And we are nevertheless dealing with those challenges to the best of our ability within our SAP. At some point, I think it was last year, if I'm not mistaken, when I went to DPCI to give them vehicles, new vehicles, a number of them, in an attempt and effort to make their work better manageable. But that's not enough. And therefore, understand DPCI, understand us as ministry to be very concerned, equally concerned, and dealing, but we're not justifying it at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We return now to the Honourable Gigaba for the next supplementary question.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, it is clear that there's been minimal progress made to reverse the state capture which exists. What mechanisms have you put in place to curb corruption as per the recommendations from the State Capture Commission report, and to prevent the capture of the state in the future? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Gigaba. Minister, your response to that, please.
All the agencies, your SIU, your DPCI, and IDAC in NPA are almost more than, they are under pressure. They are working extremely hard, and police themselves, especially the units that deal with serious crimes, they are hard at work dealing with the very subject that you are talking about. Yes, as a result of our concerns on crime and corruption, I may as well say we also have to use our platform in the NSOP to continue to reject crime and corruption in our country and condemning it. And whenever we come across incidents of crime and corruption, condemn it not just 10 times, more than that, and encourage these agencies to double their effort in fighting criminality and corruption. But I have indicated that there are efforts that are underway to deal with, to strengthen these efforts in a much more unified, in a much more strengthened way. I must indicate that efforts are yielding fruit. If I could make an example, on the FATF-related cases, that is grey listing of South Africa, we've made progress to a point where Minister of Finance has reported that he is anticipating and expecting that somewhere at the end of the year, we will leave grey listing and get rid of the last matters that are remaining for South Africa to get its colors. And therefore, these are signs and measures that are indicating that we are not taking a reverse gear. We are going forward in the fight against crime, but we still need to double our effort, but not just as law enforcement agencies alone and as police and so on, but all of us. Let's be known, all of us in the country, especially Parliament and so on, that we reject crime, we reject corruption in our country, no matter, despite, regardless of who is involved and all of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Let's hear now the follow-up question from the Honourable Peter. Honourable Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Honourable Minister. The fight against state capture is not merely about prosecuting past wrongdoing. It is a litmus test for the credibility of our democratic institution and the resilience of the rule of law in post-capture South Africa. The complexity of these cases, often involving transactional financial flows, sophisticated networks of influence, and a systematic institutional failures, requires an agile, well-resourced, and deeply collaborative response across the justice value chain. In light of these realities, what strategic mechanisms have been put in place to overcome the structural of operational challenges facing the state capture task team, particularly in relation to complex financial investigation, access to evidence, and international cooperation, and how this work being synergized with the efforts of Department of Justice and the National Prosecuting Authority to ensure a seamless, effective, and time-bound approach to prosecuting high-profile state capture cases. I thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Peter. Honourable Minister, do you have a reply to that, please?
At international level, Department of International Relations are playing a role in ensuring that all the conventions of an anti-corruption nature requiring cooperation between us and other nations, even on specific cases, those are, negotiations and engagements are continuing, and conventions get revived and renewed and all of that, and were part of the larger global community that is fully engaged in the fight, and in some of these conventions were even paying to be part of this on a continued basis. Now, internally, domestically, I've explained that efforts are afoot to leave no stone unturned to strengthen law enforcement agency and, to an extent, focus on against state capture. But government at large are making efforts, department by each department, to rid corruption. Each minister, each mayor, and even NCOP and the National Assembly, you would hear us saying that in our sphere of influence, or or where we are responsible, we don't want to be associated with corruption in whatever way, and therefore efforts are underway with various levels of success to fight corruption. But of course, against those efforts, there are those who are sworn enemies of the people of South Africa, and are carrying on and making more efforts as part of criminality in the country to continue with their corrupt ways. And therefore, they will find, and they are finding, a law enforcement ready for them and making more efforts to deal with this part of situation. It's an ongoing effort. There's no relenting on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Minister, while that brings us to the end of the scheduled 6 oral questions for reply in the House, there is an NCOP rule number 231, which allows for an instance where a written question has not been responded to within the prescribed time frame. We have 3 such questions today, and we are therefore going to give members opportunity to proceed with those questions. Minister, while we acknowledge the excellent work that you and your deputy are doing, we do implore you, please, to help us do our work by replying to questions on time to avoid such instances going forward. But we have the 3 questions before us. The first is question number 191. It was asked by the Democratic Alliance's delegate from Limpopo, Honorable Pinar. It relates to lost firearms. Question number 191. If you can reply to that, please, Minister.
A total of 79 firearms were recorded as having been lost from 1 January 2023 to 30 June 2024. With regard to the response provided in respect of question 63, it was determined that 1 firearm had been duplicated in the count, which implies that 79 and not 80 firearms were lost during the period. The South African Police Service initiated thorough investigations in terms of each incident of the loss of firearm that was reported as indicated above, and 20 of the initially reported 79 firearms were subsequently traced and accounted for. The SAPS members lost 1 firearm. No case of a member losing firearms were registered in the reporting period. Only 1 member lost a firearm, which was replaced with another firearm from police station inventory. The member applied for a new personal inventory, the SAPS 108 firearm. The SAPS do not replace firearms on a one-to-one basis. Firearms are purchased nationally, taking into consideration the identified needs, losses, disposals of previous financial year, and the allocated budget to purchase new firearms for the current financial year. A total of 15 members were found liable for the loss and paid damages to the state. Currently, 8 cases against members are still pending. No members were declared unfit. A person becomes unfit to possess a firearm if convicted of an offense in terms of the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000, Section 103. And then there are details of consequence management, which would be submitted for the attention of the honorable member. We submit.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Honorable Pienaar, do you have a follow-up question for that? Honorable Godsnell, on behalf of Honorable Pienaar.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, I am somewhat confused with the amount that you have just given me, and this is unfortunate because I can see from the other answers I got during the course of yesterday and today that because your department has not answered all the written questions that I've asked in the past weeks, the answers were rushed through. But my information comes from the SAPS APP. Now, in SAPS APP last year, that's 24-25, one priority was to reduce the number of SAPS-owned firearms confirmed as lost or stolen to 587. And that is from an amount of 632 that was lost in 2023-2024. In the latest APP, it is 569, only 20 less than the previous year. So to be clear, the target is only to lose 569 firearms from SAPS stores. So apart from how preposterous this looks, the trajectory is also not looking good. Why are these targets not set at 0?
Thank you, Honorable Godsnell. Honorable Minister, your reply, please.
Well, I would say that it's not necessarily the target, that 560 something. It rather is a target that is worked from a high level based on practical experience to say, this is what has happened last year or the previous years. Let's reduce this given the period and given the rate of improvement, which is minimal, given the environment under which these firearms get lost. This is how far you can aim to go in each year. It doesn't mean that it rules out the possibility of putting it 0. We could put 0, but it may look like merely a figure thrown there, not in line with the reality that we are working on. So I would say that 0 is ideal, of course, even though we may need to add there, say, over time. But the reality that we're facing year to year is that minimal reduction while doing what we are determined. That doesn't mean that we are sparing any moment or any effort to try and do the best that we can. But let's see, let's go forward with both figures, the one that we're putting at the moment, minimal as it may be, and looking as if it's not to reduce on a serious note, as you are saying, but let's also put 0 in some distant future, because that's where we want to get all of us. But a reality under which these things happen points elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Next follow-up question will come from Honourable Mananiso.
Thank you, Chair of Chairs, and as well, thank you, Minister. I like the fact that you have given a response with regards to the ideal and reality. And indeed, I want to agree with you by saying 0, it's an ideal issue. My question is that, Honourable Billy Order, My question is that where can our people report these issues that has to do with these stolen firearms, and as well in your operations of Shanyela and Okaimolau, have you been finding these particular stolen firearms in your operations?
Thank you very much, Honourable Mananiso. Your response to that, please, Minister.
Almost in all Shanyela operations that take place, there would be a report that would indicate the number of firearms seized. And it's always, even if it's one firearm, when they report, I always say, oh, yes, we are minus a firearm. We are minus 200. We are minus 5 firearms. It depends on the number that we get results for. So, yes, indeed, Honorable Member, Operation Shanyela does help us to reduce. But even outside Operation Shanyela, most importantly, when criminals, especially wanted criminals, confront police, inevitably reliance for them is to use illegal firearms to fight police. And when they fall, we almost in all cases retrieve firearms. But in some cases, it will involve firearms that would be belonging to police, even if numbers would have been erased and all of that. So it's not just Operation Shanyela where we retrieve also in some other instances. But to take you to confidence, we are in advanced discussions on ensuring greater safety. I would speak like that for now, for state firearms, even when they get stolen, to make it easy and quicker for us to retrieve them. Unlike at the moment, and we're looking forward to that particular era in the near future, so that it becomes part of our measures to prevent this problem. Because indeed we feel bad when we lose firearms and that those firearms gets used in committing a crime. We will report in the near future how far that process would have gone, but it's one of the decisive measures that we're taking to ensure that we reduce the number, maybe to zero, once those are in operation. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We return to Honourable Gigaba for a supplementary question. Honourable Gigaba.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. A couple of years here in the Western Cape, colonel in the police service was sentenced to imprisonment for the theft of approximately 2,000 firearms from the police. It is a certain Colonel Prinsloo. Minister, I want to know that ever since, has your department put adequate measures in place to deal with theft and fraud and the smuggling of firearms? And if so, what steps have you been taken? And if not, why not? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Gigaba. Minister, your response to that, please.
I want to believe that the last time we lost such a number of firearms through theft was with Colonel Prinsloo at that time. It has not happened after, which is a measure that proves that measures have been indeed taken to curtail the problem. However, it still happens that police stations at times get attacked or get under attack from criminals, and quantities of firearms get stolen and so on, although we retrieve them as and when they get arrested. But there are those measures that have been taken to better secure state firearms in police stations and in other armories to prevent just that scourge of losing large quantities of firearms just willy-nilly like that. And you will recall that, among other things, Prince Lou undertook to cooperate with the state, and the matters are still going on along those lines. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The final supplementary question on this subject will come from the Honourable Farmer, again participating virtually. Honourable Farmer.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, in light of the timing of this question, I have not prepared, or I do not have a question prepared. I will, however, ask the following, Minister, and maybe you might not have these numbers available now, and I would gladly want to receive them written then, if so. But how much of police firearms are involved in gender-based violence where it is used on partners or wives? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Farmer. Back to you for a response to that, please, Minister, though it may need to be later in writing.
Yes, I would do so, Honourable Chair. It's not possible to answer off cuff, but there are such incidents, especially when where perpetrators would be a police officer using their firearms to perpetrate GBV-related crime. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. We now move on to written question number 458. It was posed by the Honourable Godsell relating to gang-related murders and attempted murders. If we can have your reply to that written question 458, Minister.
A total of 3,770 gang and or gang-related murders were recorded for the period 1 March 2020 to 31 December 2024. A total of 5,463 gang-related or gang and or gang-related attempted murders were recorded recorded in the period 1 March 2020 to 31 December 2024. Details of the breakdown in respect of each police station will be submitted to the attention of the honourable member. I have those with me and will be submitted to the honourable member concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable Godsell, do you have a supplementary question then?
I do. Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, one of these statistics that you've just mentioned is 4-year-old Davin Africa. He was killed by a stray bullet while he was asleep next to his pregnant mother. His older sister was also killed by a stray bullet fired by a gang 2 years ago. Given these statistics and the fact that the AGU in the Western Cape for the past 7 years do not even have a fixed establishment or enough vehicles, what will it take to finally hold the Western Cape Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Patakile, accountable? How many more children must die?
Thank you, Honourable Godsell. Honourable Minister, your response to that, please.
I have indicated, no, firstly, this is quite a sad story that the honourable member, Godsell, is indicating. And it is touching to all of us and undesirable in the country, not in the Western Cape, but everywhere or anywhere in the country. And number two, I did indicate that we have concluded that the Western, not the Western Cape, Cape Town in particular, with its high violence zones, we have concluded that those zones do not require normal policing. They require extraordinary measures to contain this on a sustained basis, this particular problem. There are people in these areas that I'm talking about that don't that have told themselves that they don't fear anything and that they can do anything anytime. And in such circumstances, we require extraordinary measures. And those measures are coming. We will be interacting with the NSOP once those measures are in place. And we're hoping that we will curb substantially this particular kind of ugly incidents of stray bullets. In some cases, in most cases, not even stray bullets. It's shooting at people at random and just killing at will. That is being experienced in some zones in Cape Town at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next opportunity falls to the Honourable Nkosi Nonkonyana.
Chair of Chair and honourable members. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for the elaborate reply. And I think all of us are aware that the crime, particularly that of organized criminals such as gang, is a menace to the society. And me and Honourable Godself, fortunately serving in the Select Committee for Security and Justice, know the steps that we have been taking together with National Commissioner of Police and Provincial Commissioners. You came here in the Western Cape to demonstrate that. It is unfair to the Honourable, it is unfair for Honourable Godsell to accuse the Provincial Commissioner that he is somewhat responsible for the killing of our youth here. And I think it is unfortunate. It is again unfortunate that many questions merely of statistics. We wonder what purpose will it serve? Because we need you, Honourable Minister, we need commissioners, we need members of the police service in our society to stamp out this gangsterism. Now, can you assure us, Honourable Minister, that you and the commissioners in the country will continue to do what we have been doing and implore us as public representatives and all peace-loving South Africans to work with you to make sure that we stamp out gangsterism in South Africa, particularly in the Western Cape. Thank you, Chair.
Excellent timing, Nkosi. Thank you very much indeed. Honourable Minister, your response to that, please.
Yes, we are committed to fighting crime and using what this will take and going out of our way to ensure that people feel safer. It is our commitment in the 7th administration. And we want to see results thereof, of these concerted efforts against murder, against the proliferation of firearms, and against drugs and GBVF. We are determined that we need to start seeing substantial reductions in this particular financial year, and hence all the kinds of efforts that we are reporting about. And therefore, we are assuring the public that it's our commitment to do everything we can to fight and reduce crime in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Let's go back to the Honourable Gigaba for a follow-up question.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, I submit respectfully, let us not be blinded by Cape Town alone, but the entire Western Cape is a hotspot and fertile ground for gangsterism and gang-related crimes. This is due to various factors, such as spatial development, poor spatial development, overcrowding in small houses, and the deployment of policing resources into more affluent areas in Cape Town and in the entire Western Cape. So does your department interact with other provincial and national departments to mitigate the risk of gang activities and murders? And if so, what type of interaction is taking place at the moment? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honourable Gigaba. And your response to that, please, Minister.
Western Cape as a whole, it comes like that to us. Eastern Cape, Gauteng, and KZN are the four provinces that are a hazard in terms of criminality in South Africa. Our focus is on them, but not taken out and away from other provinces, but we are focusing as a matter of prioritizing on these four. So you are right in saying not just Cape Town, but the Western Cape. Now, we are engaged on this almost on a weekly basis to assess the situation and make sure that part of why we signed an agreement with Cape Town, we're hoping that even with those reduced numbers of Metro Police and law enforcement, we will start releasing some of the resources to other areas of the Western Cape with a view to actually reducing crime effectively. We're not yet there in terms of optimizing on the cooperation. We're still way behind. But part of the reason is to release the resources and start spreading our footprint throughout the Western Cape. But we're also aware with Western Cape what's happening. Quite a number of criminals are juggling between Western Cape and Eastern Cape. And we do identify that route and those people who are doing so, transporting with them criminality and all of that. And so the measures are the same as I've indicated before, and we are concerned about it. Thank you.
Beg your pardon. Thank you very much, Minister. The honour of asking the last follow-up question on this particular one falls to the delegate from the UDM from the Eastern Cape, the Honourable Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Evening again, Honourable Minister. Minister, the people of Western Cape, particularly in communities like Landegier and Mitchell's Plain, are living under siege. In May 2025, they took to the street again, demanding answers and actions in the face of relentless gang violence. At the same time, the prosecution of known alleged gang leaders remains painfully slow, raising serious concern about systematic failures in policing and justice. What concrete and measurable intervention has your ministry implemented since March 2020 to disrupt gang operations, increase conviction rates, and restore the confidence of communities that feel abandoned by the state? Furthermore, what is being done to fix the deep-rooted failures in SAPS intelligence, resource allocation, and coordination with the NPA, particularly in preventing the predictable waves of retaliation violence that follow arrest of gang leaders? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Peter. And back to you for reply, please, Minister.
Now, number one, I do want to indicate that there is no gang leader that is known to us who has remained in operation since that period up to now. I know some of them to have gone permanently. I know some of them to be in custody, and so on. But I know that there have a tendency and practice of replicating. And having said that, I would say that we are cooperating closer and closer with the Department of Justice. We know we owe each other a substantive meeting to discuss necessary synergies and cooperation between the two departments, and that is coming. We are still identifying gaps in a comprehensive way, so that when we sit, we go through and we close this. Secondly, we on our side, we have instructed the Civilian Secretariat to start initiating a law against gangsterism, to outlaw gangsterism in the first place, as opposed to saying it's against the law to promote the aims of a gang by doing 1, 2, 3. We no longer want that. We want to ban it so that there's no talk of such and such a gang, such and such a gang, such and such a gang in a policing area. We want to make it illegal to do so, because in the first place, there is no gang that gets organized to go to attend church services. All gangs by nature are criminal by nature and by name and by activity. And therefore, we have no reason whatsoever to keep on mentioning gangs as if we worship or we ourselves like this thing and so on. And that's one measure. He is talking about intelligence. We are looking at that. We are actually at work on intelligence. We are happy at strengthening intelligence. We are happy that the committee, the oversight committee, is now in place, which will mean that the necessary synergies and workings will be underway between us and the standing committee on intelligence. I would say, other than that, we have by and large responded to the question in one way or the other earlier on. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Honourable members, I have been advised that the Honourable Pienaar has indicated that he's prepared to wait for a response in writing, as is the normal course, for the remaining question on the paper, and therefore withdrawn the question for oral response. That therefore brings us to the end of the question session to the Minister of Police. And Minister, I would like to say thank you very much for your time and your application. Honourable delegates, I'd like to thank the Minister, the MECs, all permanent and special delegates, SALGA representatives for availing themselves for today's sitting. Honourable members, that brings us to the end of the business for today, and the House is therefore adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Recording stopped.